HIV insects, also known as the missing key to infect the humans, ACE2 receptor in brackets. Create a weaponized version of the virus with a much higher mortality rate as a backup plan, ready to be released in phase 3, but only if needed. And they have, in brackets, SARS, HIV, MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Disease or something. A weaponized tribrid strain created at Fort Detrick Class 4 lab in 2015. Okay? Transport the research strain to a different Class 4 lab, National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg, Canada, and have it stolen and smuggled out by China. Wow. On purpose, and taken to China's only Class 4 laboratory, Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, for added plausible deniability and to help cement the wanted backup public script as something to fall back on if needed. Primary script being its natural backup script being that China created it and released it by accident. That's why we said pandemic or accident according to plan. Found all the talking heads, Fauci, Bergs, Tedros, and agencies, WHO, NIH, CDC, UN, that would be involved with pandemic response prior to the planned release of the research strain to control the wanted script throughout the operation. Create and fund the vaccination development and rollout plan so it's capable of being rolled out on a global scale. Bill Gates' Decade of Vaccines Global Vaccine Action Plan 2010 to 2020. Create and fund the vaccination verification certification protocols, digital ID, to enforce, confirm the vaccination program after the mandatory rollout is enacted, Gates ID 2020. Simulate the lockstep hypothesis just prior to the planned research strain release, using a real-world exercise as a final war game to determine the expected response timelines and outcomes. Gates, and that's Event 201, October 2019. Release the research strain at the Wuhan Institute of Virology itself, and then blame its release on a natural scapegoat as the wanted primary script, the Wuhan wet market, November 2019. You see how this thing has been really captioned? This is mystery of iniquity, wickedness, cached in secrecy. Downplay the human-to-human transmission for as long as possible to allow the research strain to spread on a global scale before any country can lock down or respond to avoid initial infection. Can you imagine? No wonder the WHO, that's exactly what the WHO did. Downplay the human-to-human transmission for as long as possible to allow the research strain to spread on a global scale before any country can lock down or respond to avoid initial infection. Once a country has seed infection in place, lock down incoming, outgoing travel, but keep the transmission within the country spreading for as long as possible. Once enough people in a country or region are infected, enact forced quarantines or isolation for that area and expand the lockdown regions slowly over time. Overhype the mortality rate by tying the research strain to deaths that have little to nothing to do with the actual virus to keep the fear and compliance at a maximum. If anyone dies for any reason and is found they have COVID, consider it a COVID death, and if anyone is thought to of maybe has symptoms of COVID, to assume they have COVID and consider it a COVID death. So this is what we have been hearing, that a lot of the deaths have been exaggerated. That's why the Americans are challenging the Chinese. The Chinese were not wrong. They were quoting the right figures. But this thing was bred and brewed in America by the Americans, by the depopulation agenda of Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and the Rockefeller Foundation. So what they are counting in America, a lot of them has nothing to do with COVID-19. There are many people who have died of other diseases that have nothing to do with COVID-19, but have some of the symptoms, and they just branded all of them as COVID-19. That's why Anthony Fauci could stand and speak with confidence that there will be 200,000 deaths. Shame on him. Keep the public quarantined for as long as possible to destroy the region's economy. Can you see? Can you see? To destroy the region's economy, create civil unrest, break down the supply chain, and cause the start of mass food shortages, as well as cause people's